We have a 25 book CGC pre-screen 9.8 modern unboxing coming up next. What's up, people? Matty here. Welcome to my channel. I was just over on Instagram giving away this Joker Bermejo book, and now hopefully some of you will follow me over here to do a rare YouTube live stream. I don't do that many of these, especially not these days with we got the new baby in the house who's doing well, but less time available for comic book and work related things. But it's nice to see people whenever we get a chance. West Coast Davey is here. Davey! Yay, that means we have a show. We have a show since Davey is here. Good to see you, Davey. Misa submit to Boss Nass? What's Boss Nass? That's like some advanced Gungan. That's a little bit above my head, Davey. Thank you for being here, though, brother. Brother. All right, let's see what we got, guys. So we have here a 25 book pre-screen submission. To be honest, I have a ton more books to submit, both for myself, Gungan King. I have a ton more. Oh, that's his name, Boss Nass. Jeez, I'm a noob. I'm showing my. I'm really showing my ignorance here. But I just lost my train of thought. I did not sleep last night, guys. Babies are no joke. You know, they tell you how you don't sleep with babies. They're right. You don't. But we are holding up okay, and everybody's hanging in there, even though we are currently possibly getting the flu. But we're hanging in there. But my point being, I have a ton more stuff to submit to CGC, both for myself, for the Gungan Master Davey over there, for a bunch of other friends. I was able to get the Todd Father signing in under the wire. Unfortunately, we're still waiting for any change on that submission. But I've just had a ton of books. Got a bunch of books from my friend Jonathan to submit. Point being, I was able to get these 25 books, modern pre-screen 9/8s, out around the time that we submitted for the Todd stuff, because what I like about 25 book pre-screen modern submissions is that you get that kind of a safety net with the pre-screen, right? So I have two different criteria. One, you have to have one or the other criteria to make sense to submit it for a 25 book pre-screen. One, you have to be really sure that it's going to hit 9/8. Or two, what's my point here? You have to be either really sure it's going to hit 9/8, or you have to be not sure that it's going to hit 9/8 and you're just taking a shot at it. Like, you basically, it's sort of like, let's just see what happens. I wouldn't really want the book in a sub 9/8 slab. I'd rather have it raw. I do not want it in a 9/6. I do not want it in a 9/4. I do not like it. Sam, I am. No, I do not want any sub 9/8 grade for this particular book. So, and it also occasionally, you know how in my live stream on Instagram, I sometimes call things natural 9/8s. Because I press my own books, a pre-screen batch is a nice opportunity to skimp on the pressing sometimes. So there are certain books you'll see in here that I did not press because I thought, this looks pretty good. There are no major defects on the book. It's the paper might be a little wavy, might have some of that new comic book kind of like imperfection. And yeah, maybe a press would really like cement its odds at getting a 9/8. But I would rather save the time and not press it and just send it in for the pre-screen and cross my fingers. When am I going to reveal how many books out of 25 I hit 9/8? I'm going to reveal it right now because I don't have any better system of doing that. I got, out of 25 books, I got only one book back raw, which means this was my one reject, which is ironic because I happen to be kind of like investing in Null right now. So I recently like picked up this raw copy of Venom 3 cover A that I will be pressing and grading. And I looked at this copy. It's just funny that this is the reject because I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is definitely going to go back to CGC. There's no chance I'm going to just be like, it's not a 9.8. I'm going to sell it raw. No way. I am going to keep submitting this until it gets a 9.8. I actually recently like traded my 9.8 copy of the third print to a friend of mine, knowing that this was at CGC and that I was really expecting it to come 9.8. So that's all to say, I am extremely happy that I only had one reject out of 25, and I'm actually kind of amazed by that. But I am surprised that that was the book that they chose to reject, given that a lot of the books in here I did not press. So just real quick, the fundamentals of pre-screening, guys, if you're not aware, pre-screening basically means you are giving them a grading criteria that you only want it encapsulated if it reaches your target grade. Most people do 9.8 pre-screen. Some people do a target of 9.6. The thing with CGC is you have to pick one grade, one target grade, and you have to have exactly 25 books that you're aiming for that grade with. You can have more, but then you're going to exceed it. It's not going to ship back to you all at once. The maximum they can ship back to you is 25. So I always do 25 books, no more, no less, when I'm going for a pre-screen. And I just suggest whenever you are separating out your books to be submitted, just keep a tally, like maybe keep a separate section of books that are good pre-screen candidates, because not all books are good pre-screen candidates. A lot of books I would rather, like, I would accept in a 9.6, or I think the chances of getting a 9.8 are too slim. But a lot of books where I'm on the fence or I don't want to spend the time on a press, I'm like, it's a modern, let's see if it gets a 9.8, throw it in the batch. Of course, I want to pre-screen it myself to be pretty sure it has a chance. But, I gotta say, guys, I want to knock on wood here, because I have pretty good luck with CGC in my last few submissions. I know there's a lot of wild inconsistency. I know they have millions of graders and there's tons of people you can get that are going to, be more or less consistent. But in terms of CGC pre-screen 9.8 modern, I think I got it down pretty good. I've gotten a couple of perfect submissions, 25 for 25. I think the lowest I ever got was like 21 for 25. So when I see people, just a tiny bit of inconsistency. Yes, I know. I know there's more than a tiny bit of inconsistency. But I think that on the high end of modern grading, there's a lot of gray area between a 9.6 and a 9.8. Like, I think this one is probably a more solid 9.8 candidate than a lot of these others. But as a presser, as someone who grades a lot of books, I think I can spot them pretty good. So I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit for getting this 24 out of 25 submission. So let's just go through it. I'm just going to show off the books I got. I think every one of these books is for sale. If you are interested in any of these books, just go ahead and hit me up on Instagram. Or if you want to be like, I want that now. You two people watching, Davey and one other person. If you are interested right now, just let me know in the chat or message me over on Instagram at mmcomicsales. All right, so here we go. First up, I'll be doing some sort of quality control as I go through this. This looks really nice. So this is a Spider-Man #1 editorial Televisa edition, Mexican edition. It's a is it La Mole? I don't know if it's technically a La Mole. If I had gotten this in hand before the Todd signing, I probably would have sent this in. It's a beautiful, it's just a great, I mean, this Mexican company that's been doing these foils is just knocking them out of the park every time. They just look beautiful, and they're really faithful recreations with just like a really pleasing foil sheen to them. This one looks good. I mean, one thing that really bugs me is when, speaking of quality control, like they can't get the 9/8 in the center. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You're a grading company. Do better. Do better. That needs to be centered. That said, that's not something I would send in for a reholder or anything. But this is one I don't believe I pressed. I think I just got it in the mail. It's a bit of a roll of the dice when you buy some, foil books from Mexico. It's going to go international. Foil books are pretty tough. Oftentimes they get these dings that can't press out. I got lucky with this copy. I was able to just wipe it down with a microfiber cloth, wearing gloves so I don't add any more fingerprints onto the book. And that's all it took. So we got a nice 9/8 there. And okay, next up we have. Does anyone know, by the way, like what the rumor is about Donny Cates? Can anyone speak on that? Because who was it? Jim Comics on YouTube, who I watch pretty often, was just talking about, alluding to some sketchiness, shadiness, something happening with Donny Cates. What is happening with Donny Cates? I just recently bought a lot from Instagram seller UST Gray. I have a bunch of Donny Cates key books, like another copy of Venom 3, a Venom 9 cover A, a Venom 9, 1, and 10. And I'm thinking, why are people jumping ship from Donny Cates right now? And I feel like I'm holding the bag a little bit. That's a total aside. But I do like this book a lot. This is a Black Winter first appearance in the 1 in 25 Esad Ribic. I remember I got this book from Howie Hauser over on Instagram. He had a nice Thor lot around the time that Thor Love and Thunder came out. And I remember thinking, if I'm going to press and submit any one of these books, it's going to be this one. I remember how hot this was when it first came out. And it's just still a very desirable book to me. I believe 9/8 of this are only going for a couple $100 now, but I would not be surprised if this was at one point $1,000 9/8 or something like it, like 600-700 maybe. Pretty crazy book. I like the concept of Black Winter. I would be very excited if that sort of came back up again in the stories or whatever. So that's a cool one. Pretty cool. Here's the other foil I was expecting. This is the Sandman foil. So this is the same company that did that Spider-Man #1. It's just a nice foil reprint of Sandman. I like how the eyes look with the foil reflection on that eye streak is really cool. So yeah, this is just another foil one I did not press, and I just wiped it clean and sent it in. Next up, okay, I did some multiples in this submission. So here are some multiples. This is a book I really like. I really like Dan Parent. I like Archie comics. Increasingly, I never thought I would like Archie. And when I say like Archie, I'm talking about the covers. I'm not talking about reading Archie. So this is the Chamber of Chills 19 homage. And this is the one that I really like. I mean, what I like about the Dan Parent variants, Dan Parent is the artist that does most of the modern Archie covers and variants and stuff. First of all, he does great homages. Second of all, they're extremely limited. So they're usually like 200 or fewer copies for every one of these exclusives they put out. This one, I believe, had like 3 versions. It had a virgin, a trade dress, and a black and white. And I think they were all evenly printed. So I'm a big believer in this particular one, which is the color virgin copy, because the trade dress is no good. The black and white sort of is lacking. And I figure if they're all the same print run, you know, the scarcity is going to sort of gravitate towards the more desirable of them, right? So I went ahead and contacted. This is like, Davey, this is sort of like my hustle versus your hustle. This is what I try to do to sort of like make ends meet on my end. I basically like message the retailer, and then I realize that they're going to be at the same con that I'm going to be at. Then I say like, I want to buy as many virgin, basically this particular variant as I can from you guys. And they offered me like 6 of them for a really good deal, like the equivalent of like $30 a copy. So I had already gotten one, you know, for 50 or $60 and, you know, gotten a 9.8 and made about $180 sale from it. So I sort of, I hunt, I sort of, what do you want to say? I guess I'm more of like a modern hunter where I'm sort of looking for scarce variants, looking for opportunities to get 9.8s. I got 3 copies of this in 9.8, which I really dig. And now that I have 3 of them, maybe I can hold on to one of them and sell the other 2 because I really like that book. Davey said he just did some research and it seems Cates is taking a break, that his personal life needs some tending to. That was sort of what seemed to be implied from Jim Comics, but he was pretty vague about it. I don't know if that means that everyone is like in a sell mode for Cates, if that's why I'm seeing these opportunities to buy the Cates keys. But at any rate, it's just something I noticed. All the modern market, you know, spec market and whatever, which Cates was like right in the center of, in prime, you know, comic boom frenzy. All that stuff is down. So that's also not surprising. This one I'm really psyched on because I believe this is my second or third time submitting this, and this one is a tougher 9.8 to get. This is a Ghost Rider 28 newsstand. So this is the first cameo. Midnight Suns tends to be the key people go for rather than issue 31, I believe. Even though they only appear in like a apparition or like a dream or something in this issue. But this is one I've never gotten in a 9.8, and I love getting these copper newsstands in 9.8 whenever possible. So I knew it was a copy that had potential, but you know, as with my Ghost Rider 1 copies that I've come across, they tend to have these corner issues. See that one up there? Talk about inconsistency. They have these tiny little binary tears on the corners. So it's like, all right, well, it's super clean other than that, right? So it's like you're kind of just waiting for the grader that's going to say, yep, I'll accept that. No spine wear, no color rub, no anything else. I'll take those 2 little corner things, which may or may not be manufacturing, as basically like the 2 defects on this book, and we got a 9.8. But it has to be so clean otherwise, and it's the kind of thing where, I don't know, someone else might not even consider sending this in as a pre-screen 9.8, but I'm happy. I feel like I've learned a bit about, you know, what their criteria is, and it's also just a matter of persistence. I'm pretty sure that copy was a reject once before. Okay, here's another multiple. I picked up a couple copies of We Live #1, the 1 in 15 from Aftershock. And, you know, this was sort of like a spec buy for me because obviously people have been speculating on this. And there was some Twitter news about the creators, the Miranda brothers, saying like, yeah, we're working on the TV show or whatever. You know, since I submitted this just a short 5-6 weeks ago, I believe Aftershock filed for bankruptcy. So that might put a damper on this. I don't know if people are still aggressively pursuing We Live or not, but I do like the fact that this is a low print indie book that people really like. The story seems great, and I like the 1 in 15 for issue #1 because it's all the first appearances, and you know, a fairly high ratio. You know, 1 in 10s are more common for modern ratio, for indie ratios, I should say. So a 1 in 15 is appealing to me from a scarcity perspective, that it's like pretty obscure indie publisher with a 1 in 15 of a beloved title. So whatever happens with that, I'm psyched that those both came at 9.8, and neither of them needed a press. It's a nice cardstock on that. So I guess that counteracts it. I bet the 9.8s are not super scarce because it's a very well produced book. So you're not going to get like a bunch of beat up copies necessarily. Okay, here is again my guilty pleasure of Dan Parent. Here is another limited Dan Parent Virgin cover. This one is also limited to 200, and it's Archie's Holiday Magic Special #1. I think I put this up in my Christmas claim post, knowing that this was coming back in a 9.8, and still available. What else? What else? Still got quite a few books to go. Ooh, this one's good. So this is one that I bought holding on. I held on to this really wanting to get the matchy custom label, because this is the artwork for the previous Miles custom label. They've now come out with a new artwork I don't like as much. So I'm bummed that I can't get this in the custom label. It's the whole reason I purchased it. I do really like the art though, and it does go for a pretty penny in a 9.8. So I'm happy that it got the 9.8, but I miss having the opportunity to get the custom label with this Michael Cho artwork. That is Spider-Man #1 from 2016. All right, next up we have, okay, this is one of the ones where it's like, I do a lot of new comic book day stuff, and I buy ratio variants, or sometimes I earn them by purchasing enough, like, I'll buy like 10 copies of a book from my comic shop pre-ordered, and sometimes they'll let me have the 1 in 25 for cover price, that kind of thing. I believe this one is like it's a variant I probably paid $15 for. It's a 1 in 25 Inhyuk Lee cover for Batman 127. And I was really on the fence about it. It was sort of like a low priority submission for me. I think I passed it over in a previous submission. But it's like a variant, I paid $15. I probably was like asking $20 for it on the week of release, or maybe the first couple weeks it was out. Didn't sell, and I was like, well, maybe I'll submit it myself. And sure enough, like, I think it gets a good $70-80 in a 9.8. So if I can convert it from like a $15 purchase, investing another $20 into it, and then getting double, I'm not mad at that. It's a nice Catwoman cover. And hopefully someone would like to own this. We shall see. Okay, these are cool. Two more I did not have to press. So you can get a theme here that, since I've been so backed up with pressing, as I've been saying, books that do not need to press, that can go straight to the front of the line and sort of fill out a 25 book pre-screen submission, are very appealing to me. This is another book that, has a really nice sort of cardstock cover, well produced by Whatnot, Invincible #1 and #2. And I believe I bought these from my buddy Eddie Bravo, who helps me out in the shop. I bought them from him. He was just looking to like free up some cash, and I looked him over. I put him straight into my pre-screen submission batch. And now I'm especially happy because I believe I have the Omni-Man as well. So now I have a full complete set of the 3 Tyler Kirkham trade dress Invincibles, #1 and #2. So it makes a cool set. I'll probably keep the set together now that I have the 3 matching 9.8s, and I'll probably wait for news on the second season of this show to come out, and then try to do a claim for all 3 of those books together. What do we got next? Oh, this is another cool one. This one is one I will be tempted to keep for my collection. I really love this book, Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse #1. This is the 1 in 10 animation variant by Flaviano. And that's just a classic Miles cover with a nice sort of vintage trade dress, vintage Copper Age or whatever. Love that book. That's a good 9.8 to have. That's a pretty pricey 9.8. Ooh, here we go. So I'm all out of my first print, 8 Billion Genies, but we got the fourth print, which is a nice black cover. Happy that came back 9.8. So fourth print, just as scarce as the first print. Doesn't have that iconic yellow background that the first print does, but oh man, this one has a little plastic in the case. Shite. Look at that. Quality control. So I'll probably send that back in for a reholder. Bummer. Well, you know what? One thing they did start doing is stamping the invoice with a certain person's initials for quality control. So somebody's going to get fired for that blunder. Hopefully they don't get fired, but it is nice that somebody gets held accountable. Like, you let this weird little plastic hair pass. It's kind of weird. I mean, I feel like I pre-screen books kind of like as part of my job, as evidenced by pre-screening like 24 out of 25 9/8s. And it's like, you know, you hold the book to the light, you look it over. How do you not notice it? I don't know. In terms of that grading, the grade being off center, I mean, most of this whole batch is slightly off center with the grade. I don't get that. I don't get why that can't be standardized. I do not understand. All right, we just have 8 more books to show. Should be called Crappy Quality Control. Yes, CQC, Crappy Quality Control. That's it. I mean, they will pay for the reholder. They'll pay for it to be shipped back. The customer service is good. Hopefully, Davey, they've solved our little billing issue that we were having. If not now, then soon. This is a cool one. G.I. Joe #1 Art Adams subscription variant with the Baroness on the cover. That one's sort of tough in a 9.8. I'm happy that came back 9.8. I bought a sort of minor collection from my buddy Mike, and he had a few copies of this. Funny story, back to the inconsistency. I sort of reserved the best copy. I looked at all 4. You know, when you have multiples of a modern type book, it helps to sort of compare them against each other to choose, you know, if you're submitting for yourself, you choose the best copy, hold it back, submit it, try to secure the 9.8. But I remember, I think I gave the worst copy of the 4. Maybe it was 3, I can't remember, but I gave the worst copy for free to my buddy CJ because he helps me out with shipping and stuff. He got a free copy of this from me. And I didn't even know if he was planning to submit it or whatever. He presses his own books. Apparently he pressed it and got a 9.8 with the worst copy. So surely if the worst copy got a 9.8, then the best copy should also get a 9.8. This should be a 9.9 technically. But yeah, that's pretty sweet that the R. Adams got a 9.8. Love me some Art Adams. G.I. Joe, I can take it or leave it, but I can dig that cover. Okay, here is just a high ratio modern, very high ratio, 1 in 200. Was not very high priority for me to grade this book, but you know, it sort of sat there in my quick press, you know, pre-screen. I think it's another example of like a ratio book that did not sell the week of release. So oftentimes as a seller, you know, I offer what's available on the week. I want people to be able to have access to what's new and what's hot that week or whatever. But if it doesn't sell in the first week, sometimes it's sort of like best to just put it off. I mean, in general, you want to cycle what you're selling, right? You want to try not to offer the same shit every week. So if I've tried this once, twice, and it's not selling for, you know, it's a 1 in 200, I probably had it starting at $100 or something. And nobody was biting. So then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play the longer game with this one, and you know, hold on to this high ratio, try to get a 9.8, and see if this Titan character. See if something happens with the Titan character in the future, if that's going to be desired. But either way, I'm only putting another 25 bucks into the book, and hopefully that pans out. Great book here. This is a decal 1 in 25 Riri book. A lot of people's favorite Riri cover, probably mine. I tend to try to get this book raw whenever I can get a good price on it, to try to get me a 9.8, because I love this book. I remember the last time I sold it, a 9.8, I think it went for like $475. I think nowadays people are looking for like $350 on this. So it's definitely dipping, but I feel like it's kind of says something that it holds more value than a lot of the actual Riri keys. I mean, this is like her first solo series, I guess. But it's not like, it's mostly a cover buy. It's mostly like a ratio cover buy. It's not, not one of her first appearance books. But I feel like this goes for more money than like the previous series, issue 7 or 9 in a 9.8, which is, it just tells you something about, what collectors want. Oftentimes it's the high ratio cover buy, more so than the key itself. Okay, now we're sort of going to sprint to the end of this submission, because the last 5 books are all the same thing. Baloney Bandit says, can't stay to watch, gonna put the kids to bed. Congrats on the baby, Matt, and I'll check out the video later. Perfect, Bandit. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining. And good luck with the bedtime. And thanks. And yeah, leave a comment later after you watch the whole video. And thanks for coming in. So the last 5 books are all the same book. And this is a book, another one where it's kind of like, again, Dave and I talk about the difference in our sort of business model, seller strategy, and whatever. I don't do a lot of exclusive variant purchasing. I think I've sort of shied away from it increasingly, as most of them flop, or don't hold their value. There are certain store exclusives that come out that I'm all over it. And this was one of them, because, the M&M variant came out. I was not all over that. I missed the boat on that. The first time I saw it, I was sort of like, what's the deal with that? I didn't really think that much of it. It didn't speak to me. I'm not like an M&M fan. I liked the 8 Mile movie pretty well when it came out. But it doesn't speak to me. I am a Notorious B.I.G. fan. I mean, I just listened to him a lot in my life, more than Eminem. And I lived in Brooklyn for 11 years, and he's anthemic, he's iconic, he's probably, one of the best rappers of all time, and certainly one of the best Brooklyn rappers of all time. So when the Biggie variant came out, I was keen to that one. I believe something like Key Collector did an alert about it, and I think Nick said something like, people seem to be inflating the numbers on this one. They're still available on the original website. Like, people were trying to get, I think they were originally selling for $30 a piece, and they were selling on eBay for $70-$80 because people weren't aware that they were still available on the site. So to me, it's like, I see the Eminem book blowing up. I see that this Biggie book is available still. There's always a risk that, with exclusive variants, it's a little bit like, if it doesn't sell out within the first couple weeks or a month, it might tank. The book just might totally tank, because I was thinking about going big on a certain X-23 variant recently, like a J. Scott Campbell book, and that book has not sold out in 7 years, or maybe 6 years since it came out in 2016. It's kind of like, ooh, what's wrong with it? If it doesn't sell out from its initial run, you're a little bit like, maybe I don't want it as much. It just happens. It's the psychology of FOMO. It's the psychology of you know, supply and demand. So and perceived scarcity, right? So when I hear that, so I remember I messaged, I think I might have bought like 2 copies. I think that's what I did to start because I was kind of like, I don't know which direction this is going to go. I think I messaged the store, and I think they responded that it was a 3,000 print run, which is pretty high, but most Marvel variants are 3,000 minimum. Um, for whatever reason, my gut told me, all right, I'm gonna move big on this book. It's sort of like an all-in bet, right? There's no maximum, there's no limit to how many copies you can go. So, I bought 10 copies. I think I might have been all in 11 or 12, but it might have just been a 10 copy purchase from the start. I can't remember now. But in retrospect, I wish I bought more. I mean, it did end up selling out, and that's what you hope for when you sort of invest in a variant like this. You hope it's going to sell out and that the eBay prices are going to keep climbing. So not only did that happen shortly after I bought the 10 copies, but I quickly it was going for $75 pretty steady, and I started using it as like an incentive, like a top bidder prize, or first person to buy a big book gets a biggie, buy a biggie book, get a biggie copy. So I think I gave away a couple copies. I reserved 5 copies to be slabbed 9.8. And at that point, I chose to offer a pre-order, a 9.8 pre-order, because these books came really nice, guys. Like, they were like, not one of the 10 copies was subpar. I mean, there were some that were better than others, but none of them were not 9.8 candidates. So I picked the best of the 9.8s. They in fact did not need presses, and I felt really confident that the 5 copies that I picked were going to all come 9.8. And that's what they did. They came all 5 9.8, no press needed. So this investment of just over $300 to buy 10 copies of this book has really done well for me. This is like, I can't tell you how rare it is that, like, investing in a modern store exclusive variant pans out this way. I do not recommend it all the time. It's taken a long time for me to sort of like suss out like when it's worth doing something like this. I really don't mess with it that often, but this is pretty uncommon. I mean, it's Deadpool, it's Biggie. I don't know of any other, prominent Notorious B.I.G. variant cover. I'm sure there have been some in the past, but this is just the definition of a desirable cover. There's a lot of, hip hop variants are extremely sought after. And this is sort of like Ken Lashley is sort of doing a new rendition of hip hop variants for our current era with the Eminem covers and now the Biggie cover, just stood to reason that this was going to do well. Now, I sort of messed up in my ask for the pre-order. 9.8 was way too low. I asked $150 shipped. And if you look on eBay right now, these are going for almost $400. So I was trying to, I guess I'm trying to get into the seller psychology a little bit, the strategy of it. I was trying to convert value out of this book for fear of it crashing, essentially. I wanted to, because a lot of the strategy as a seller is like strike while the iron's hot, sell while it's hot. It's what goes up must come down, blah, 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 right? And I knew I was going to be first to market with this 9.8, or at least as a pre-order. No one on eBay was offering pre-order 9.8s at the time. I should have at least done 200. I could have done 250. I could have done 3. It's just a woulda, coulda, shoulda thing. I quickly pre-sold 2 of them. A third one, I started realizing after I offered the deal that I had gone way too low. A third claim fell through. Like, he did not have the $150 to pay me that weekend. So I was like, no harm done there. I'm happy to not to basically. So basically, I think I planned to reserve one copy, pre-sell 4. I ended up with only 2 confirmed pre-sales, and one of them backed out, and the other one is sort of like a longtime customer with a big balance with me that God bless him, he's still paying off. So whether he actually pays off his, I'm going to give him one more chance to kind of like close the deal on the $150 for this, but as of right now, it's really not confirmed that he's going to hold on to it. So all that being said, I currently have 2 copies left for sure that are available. And my current asking price is $325 shipped, because the last sales have been $380, $390 on eBay. And yeah, Dave wants to take the pre-order for $150. Doesn't work that way, Davey. Sorry. But yeah, $325 shipped is the in-hand ask. If anyone needs one of these, it's a fair price given the current market. And like I said, it's hedging your bets, right? You take chances. I invested in over $300 with shipping and tax on these variants, and didn't know whether they were going to move. That said, with a channel like I have, it was pretty safe, because it's not like people aren't going to want to pay at least the cover price, at least the $30, $35. You know what I mean? So the worst case scenario wasn't so bad. It was really one of those things where I really could have been even more aggressive, but you don't want to be too greedy either. Should I have bought 20? Should I have bought 30? Should I have not sold any of them raw and only done, you know what I mean? It's just, you do what you can. You try to make the best decisions you can in the moment, and try not to regret the mistakes too much. Jerry says, when is the Nas or Jay-Z Marvel comic collab? That's a good question, Jerry. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if Ken Lashley has announced any other hip hop variants, but having done Eminem and Biggie, I would expect him to do more in this series. I'm not sure if the Nas or Jay-Z are just speculative or if that's actually happening, but I really wouldn't be surprised. And I think now that I've seen, what the Eminem book has done, what the Biggie book is doing, they're all good books. If he puts out any more, the thing about it is, like, people love to collect the full set, right? So if they've got the Eminem, they got the Biggie, the next ones will be, similarly desirable if they come out. So everyone be on the lookout for that. These have been sort of weird too, because like the Eminem one was released on Eminem's own website or whatever, and this one was available through hustle.com. So I don't know. I would recommend just kind of like follow these accounts on Twitter. Twitter is a big source for me for like learning about, speculation news. When an indie gets optioned, oftentimes I hear about it first on like a Twitter account like Deadline Hollywood or things like that before Key Collector. You know what I mean? Or follow, if you like a variant that drops on Hustle, follow the Hustle Twitter, get on the Hustle email list. If you're in that kind of a game of like trying to catch those as they drop. Those are my tips and tricks for today, guys. Other than that, I mean, I just wanted to quickly plug, I still have a bunch of Christmas sort of holiday claims available on my page. Here are some of the raw books that did not sell this week. I've got 2 copies of the what's his name? Hypno Hustler, Spectacular Spider-Man. One of them's like a VF, one of them is near mint. And I'm taking offers as well. Before I'll put them on eBay, because that seems to be where this book is really thriving. If you weren't aware, that's the character that Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, will be playing theoretically. Which, I mean, I'm into that. Like, I'm a big fan of Donald Glover's as an actor and as a musician, and I'm into the fact that like he's gonna have his own character that is musically oriented in a comic book movie. I know Sony is like a dumpster fire a lot of the time, but I have pretty like, this is a dude who, like, directs and writes and, you know, has an award-winning show in Atlanta, and, like, he's not gonna attach himself to something that is gonna be really whack. That's my opinion. I think he's got a lot of integrity as an artist, and what he wants to get into, I am excited about. So, that's just my 2 cents about that whole thing. Yes, I know this is, like, a ridiculous character, but he's like a ridiculous dude. He's got a great sense of humor. He's an extremely talented musician. I'm excited to see what happens. It sort of reminds me of like how people speculate on, you know, Taylor Swift being Dazzler. Like, imagine how crazy that would be. Atlanta is a masterpiece. I've only seen the first season, but like it's brilliant. I mean, I've been wanting to watch all of Atlanta for a while now. It's actually reminding me to get on that. But yeah, like it's amazing. And I know Dave loves Taylor Swift just as much as I do, right, Davey? I do love Taylor Swift, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. And that's actually very recent. I just basically have been converted by this new album that's the hit album of all time. But she directs her own music videos. Like she is also like a strong creative voice that is like getting into directing feature films, and like she's a creative powerhouse whether you like her music or not. I'm just imagining like if she was going to be Dazzler, that would fucking rule. Like having a real life pop star who's extremely talented be like become one of these musically oriented superheroes is a really cool idea. Um, Jerry says thought he was going to be Prowler in the MCU, definitely making different plans. Yeah, apparently, yeah, because like when he was hinted at as being Miles's uncle or whatever, um, that technically wouldn't be like current MCU canon. Whereas like I believe any of these like spider offshoot projects that they're working on, even Morbin Time was supposed to be like vaguely tying into like the continuity of like, you know, Peter Parker being a murderer or whatever, right? Like it wasn't like that tied in, but they are trying to like wink at those properties and be like, Venom exists in this world. Peter Parker exists in this world. They're trying to be a little more tied in. So we'll see what happens with like the Craven movie, the Madam Web, you know, the fucking Hypno Hustler. We'll see what happens, but I do think that they are doing more cohesive stuff that's supposed to tie in, whereas the Prowler thing was probably with like a different creative vision that apparently they're not doing moving forward. A couple of the other things that I had listed on my Instagram, another Dan Parent homage to Planet Comics #1. That's the Happy Horror Days. This thing goes for like over 100 on eBay, and I'm currently taking $80 for it. That might not be the price on my page, but again, it's another like limited to 200 Dan Parent, and yeah, and I have 5 of these, so I will let them go for $80 if anybody's interested. I had these like Comic Thomas variants. That's the David Mack Ninja Funk, the Johnny the Homicidal Maniac Mr. Easta variant, and then a Momoko variant. Those were $15 each, or 40 for the set of 3. And then this new Warren Lau is Warren Liu, I believe, from Mutant Beaver. That's the Harley Quinn 24. That's pretty sick. That is a set with the trade dress that's also available on my page. And then a few slabs as well. Got the Mexican edition of the Ramos silk cover. Actually, I'm sorry. It's a Panini, but it's not Mexican. It's or Italian. It's German. This is the German edition. There's only one of these on the CGC census. That's a pretty cool one. Got this. This Chrissy Zulo silk book, the newsstand ASM 30, a Turtles signed Kevin Eastman Walking Dead homage. That one's pretty sick. I'm keeping one of these, Dave. Don't worry. I'm not selling my soul completely. But that's the Michonne Walking Dead 18 homage. This really cool sketched Something's Killing the Children book by Vincenzo Riccardi. That's a very authentic Italian accent there. It's a me, Vincenzo Riccardi. That's even more authentic. Pretty sick sketch there. That's on the page. There's a book I got from Davey. This is one of his Million Blade number 198s that's available on my Instagram page. And again, the Hawkeye versus Deadpool. So these were all, you know, part of the holiday claims. They're still up on my page. Feel free to make offers on those. And then again, guys, watch the replay on the video. All these 9/8s that I've just unboxed are available for sale. You have to be priced, but they will be guaranteed to be below what's available on eBay and at or below GPA average. So if you're interested in any of those 9/8s with any of those criteria, just hit me up. Comic Sales on Instagram. Give me a like and a subscription here on YouTube. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this submission. I will be submitting many more books, some of which have been cracked from previous graded slabs. For example, my friend's ASM 129 in a 9.4. He's going for a 9.6 or 9.8 on. Very nervous to work on that book, but I have cracked it out, and I will be submitting that soon. Again, if you were curious, the one book that got rejected from the submission was a Venom 3 third print. I'll be resubmitting that one. And I recently picked up a copy of Cover A. Fittingly, I'll be resubmitting both of these Null first appearances. I'm kind of a sucker for those like Instagram updates. There's like these sort of janky accounts that are like Marvel, you know, movie news. Like Null's gonna be in Venom 3. I'm like, okay, bye. That's me. I mean, you know, I don't do it perfectly, guys. I follow spec trails just like the rest of you guys. Sometimes they pan out, sometimes they don't. I don't do my due diligence all the time. Sometimes I just make impulse purchases and hope that they pan out. But for better or worse, I'm moving in on Null once again for however for the umpteenth time. I'm deciding that now is a buying opportunity for Null, and I'm trying. All right, guys. With that all being said, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. It's been fun. I have not been doing my regular Thursday sales because it's baby time. We have my in-laws staying with us right now, which is why I'm able to do this video right now, because they're watching the kid, and it's been great. You know, fatherhood is awesome, and maybe see you later, Davey. Fatherhood's awesome. I got to get some sleep and eat some stuff, and hopefully be up for the night shift tonight with my beautiful baby boy. It's sort of like a delirious joy, you know. It's just like, okay, this is an experience we're having. All right, guys. Love y'all, and thanks for tuning in. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.